Alexa Huth, the Director of Communications for the Partnership on Employment and Accessible Technology, also known as PEAT. The theme of this year's symposium is putting principles into practice, and this next session will showcase just that. The business case workstream of XR Access will be discussing their research report on the value of inclusively designed XR workplace tools. I'm excited to introduce Ashley Coffey, Madalena Crosti, Stuart Tuckerlundy, Joana Alemão, and Meryl Evans as they share their findings from this report.
Hello and welcome to day 2 of the XR Access Symposium. I'm so excited for you all to hear from the incredible speakers today. My name is Ashley Coffey, and I am the Emerging Technologies Lead at the Partnership on Employment and Accessible Technologies, also known as PEAT. Our mission is to foster collaborations in the technology space that build inclusive workplaces for people with disabilities. Our vision is a future where new and emerging technologies are accessible to the workforce by design. I'm honored to co-lead the business case workstream with Madalena Crosti. This is a research project that we started in December of 2021 with a diverse group of core researchers and a diverse group of advisory members who have been helping us with this research. Before we dive into the meat and potatoes of our content today, I'd like to take a moment to provide a brief introduction to our incredible panelists today. Maddy, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Good morning. It's great to be here. So my name is Maddy, and my focus throughout my career, which has been about in my career in immersive, which has been about for 5 years, has been in supporting creators use this technology into their practice. And I've been involved in funding and supporting about 70 XR projects through innovation programs and accelerators all over the world. And throughout this work, I became involved with XR Access because I really wanted to encourage the creators of these projects to design inclusively and in an accessible way. And I had the opportunity to co-lead this work stream with Ashley. So I jumped on it myself because I need to be the first one as well to learn about these important principles. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you so much, Maddy, and thank you for all of your hard work in co-leading this important work stream. And without further ado, I'd like to take a moment to introduce some of our core team researchers. First, I'd like to introduce Stuart Tuckerlundy. Stuart, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, my name is Stuart Tuckerlundy. I reside here in Denver, Colorado. I'm also an actor and an advocate. I consider myself both of them because I enjoy both of them. Basically, my work has me with working with the city and county of Denver, also a lot of different entities in the city and county. So, and also I've been in a wheelchair for about 40 years. So I think my purview or different insights are very valuable. So that's why I'm a part of this. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Stuart. And Meryl Evans from Equal Entry, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hey, y'all. I'm Meryl Evans coming to you from Plano, Texas. And you may have noticed I have an accent, and you're not going to be able to place it. That's because I was born hearing free or profoundly deaf. I am a professional speaker and an accessibility marketing consultant. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Meryl. I'm so glad that you're here and that you're contributing your valuable expertise to this work. Joana, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ashley. Hello, my name is Joana Alemão. I'm based in Lisbon, Portugal. For the past 8 months, I have been working for Moonbeam and Vision as a VR developer and a curator. And during the last few months, I had the pleasure of working with this amazing research group for XR Access. And I'm glad to have engaged with such amazing individuals. This is a very personal subject for me, as during almost 2 years, I was very close to my grandmother who was diagnosed with dementia. So I really know how important it is to build a world for everyone. And of course, for Moonbeam, the work of XR Access has been a huge benefit since we are still in progress. So our VR application is not being commercialized yet, but hopefully very soon. So we've been benefiting a lot, and we hope to encourage other virtual reality companies to follow the important discussions being made on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joana. The rise of extended reality, or XR, also known as virtual, augmented, and mixed reality, it's used for training, socializing, upskilling, communicating, and unlocking new opportunities for inclusive design. Inclusively designed XR can open up new pathways to employment, training, and socialization for people with disabilities. But in order for XR to be truly inclusive, it must be born accessible. That is, the developers of the technology must consider accessibility from the start or from early stage of the product's development. And as you can see today, we have a rich diversity of perspectives and experience on our research team. And we're excited to share some of the information about the Workstream project and its findings. Maddy, would you like to start us off?
Sure. Thanks, Ashley. So yesterday was a really amazing day at the first day of the symposium. I was continuously impressed and encouraged by the content and the announcements that were made, for example, by Mike at Meta, and the examples that were outlined by Accenture. So it's really about bringing principles into practice. And so as part of my work on this research, I conducted interviews with people with disabilities who had varying levels of experience with XR. And there was a consensus that XR presents an enormous opportunity to enter and be productive within the workforce. However, something that struck me and worried me a bit, frankly, was that the people who had more experience with VR and were early adopters and enthusiasts of the technology got so frustrated by the barriers and obstacles they had to overcome to access the technology that they got to the point of almost abandoning it in favor of other technologies. So we're all here today because we know that XR has immense potential for everyone to engage productively in the workforce, especially with the advent of hybrid work. However, there's clearly an urgency to act now to take full advantage of these technologies. So the reality is that many of the current XR products used for workplace communication, collaboration, and training could be designed in a more accessible way. And because of that, our workstream decided to research these tools because they present immense benefits to business, who also must consider the needs of their diverse employees. So Ashley, can you tell me a bit about, will you tell the audience a bit about what these potential benefits are?
Absolutely. Thank you, Maddy. In the joint white paper published by PEAT and the XR Association, this white paper is called Inclusive XR in the Workplace. We outlined how organizations that prioritize accessibility and the XR technologies they adopt can gain a competitive edge in a tight labor market. As organizations accelerate their digital transformations, they can use XR to engage employees in new ways and realize business value in 3 key areas. First, diverse teams, including people with disabilities, affect the bottom line. XR technologies enable businesses to attract and hire more diverse talent pools. Organizations that hire and retain people with disabilities earn 28% higher revenues, 2 times the net income, and 30% higher economic profit margins than their peers, according to an Accenture report. Second, accessible tech helps everyone succeed. Think of the curb cut effect. Accessible workplace technology is an enabler, helping to ensure employees can all equally participate, grow their skills, share their knowledge, and advance in their careers. Third, XR technologies are really key to fast-growing jobs. Today's hybrid workplaces in high-growth categories like manufacturing, education, and healthcare are increasingly using XR technologies. It's imperative that everyone can be able to use these tools so that they can upskill or reskill to meet market demand for talent. And now I'll turn it over back to Maddy to talk a bit about the methodology that we used in this research. Maddy?
Thanks, Ashley. So we're going to move into our panel discussion, but first, I'm going to just cover the approach to the research. So we determined 3 focus areas that are clearly important to hybrid work: job training, meeting and collaboration, and large-scale events. And then we developed a set of questions to look at, and these were used to assess each immersive platform. And they were adapted by the PEAT, XR, and Immersive Hybrid Work Toolkit, which is an amazing resource to help employers understand the value of using accessible XR technologies in hybrid environments. And after reading the toolkit, companies and employers will better understand how to procure accessible XR technologies for their workplace. So I do really recommend taking a look at that. So after putting together the questions, we assembled the diverse research team, which were all volunteers, including people with various disabilities as well as other lived experiences. And then we determined what technologies to assess. We decided to sample a variety of more mainstream, but also newer startup tech. So we looked at Microsoft, Altspace, Meta Horizon Workrooms, Mozilla Hubs, Spatial, Glue, Engage VR, and finally Moonbeam. The team that was researching these platforms, we all worked independently, and we looked at head-mounted display versions, both tethered and untethered, and also desktop versions. However, not all the immersive platforms have the desktop equivalent support. There were some limitations we had to overcome, as not all the team members owned hardware. However, they were able to access the desktop versions. And in some cases, we use YouTube videos to explain the context of these technologies. And then we conducted interviews with people with disabilities to understand what their perspective was on this type of tool and how they think they could use it in the future. And finally, after that we completed all the research, we identified the findings and different themes within those findings. And these will be officially published in a report next month, but we're also going to discuss some of those today. So now I'm going to pass back to Ashley to engage our panels.
Thank you so much, Maddy. It's truly been an honor co-leading this Workstream project and working with this amazing research team. We wanted to highlight this project as it is a great example of the way that XR Access enables diverse stakeholders to collaborate globally and build positive momentum. Before we get started, I'd like to note that our observations and critical analysis about accessibility and the technologies that we researched is not a commentary on the overall product or the intentions of the developers. Our intent is to highlight any progress being made and outline the future considerations that could help the product developers improve accessibility. And now I'm excited to engage our panel to talk about our research findings. In the very short time that we have today, we'll touch on various access challenges, solutions that are being explored in the community, and considerations for future improvement. So first, we're going to start about the general access needs. We'll start with observations about general access that are useful to everyone. What are they and who benefits? some general accessibility functionality that we found, including offering an undo or redo function. So who benefits for all of these? Everyone needs these. However, people with different kinds of disabilities may need flexibility in how they interact with immersive communication and collaboration tools. Users with physical disabilities or cognitive learning disabilities may find some interactions too fast to keep up with or maintain. People using tools in different environments and use cases may need these general access features. And a few of the products that we looked at, like Moonbeam, Horizon, and some of Glue, offered options for undo and redo functionality, and being able to save progress and functionality varied slightly different between the VR and the desktop applications. But next, I want to pass it over to Maddy and Joana to talk about the findings and seeings portion of our research. This is another area that the team explored that was non-visual and for visually impaired users. Maddy, over to you.
Thanks. So some functionality that we explored to help with seeing included magnifying or reducing objects and text to make them easier to see, changing the foreground or background colors of text, and changing the brightness levels in the app, but also offering audio-based interfaces via text-to-speech or other methods. And the people who would benefit from this are people who are blind or who have low vision, but also people using XR with situational vision challenges. So for example, people who are working with XR in bright or low light environments. So Joana, what did you find from this set of questions?
So, Maddy, some collaboration platforms, just to mention Glue and Moonbeam, have more options for changing brightness levels, colorblind solutions, and also text-to-speech, mostly on the desktop versions of these companies. Some other platforms, such as Spatial, Mozilla Hubs, and Workrooms, allow magnification of objects, and especially, and this is very important to notice, that on the HMD versions of the applications. And one of the platforms supports a screen reader. We are talking about Mozilla Hubs and Equal Entry examples, and for login, and also allow users to change the foreground and background of the text as well. We also would like to point out that are some things that are not being clearly supported or are beyond rigging and hacking. For example, to start, the need to determine how best to textualize or audibly describe 3D rendering scenes, and because many immersive apps are non-linear, this could be very challenging. At least one platform, the Mozilla Hubs, is open source and is actively working with the disability community via XR Access and Equal Entry to advance accessibility, including those who are blind or low vision. Equal Entry has created a hub world to explore the use of an accessibility object model to enable metadata about 3D objects, and this goes with name, description, weight, texture, and so on, accessible to screen reader users, for example, voiceover. Spaces and structures that can also be labeled to help non-visual users understand and navigate among virtual spaces, such as worlds, regions, structures, rooms, and specific elements like seats and chairs can offer additional metadata like they are available or not available via text comments and communicated by screen readers, as well as information about people already seated at a given table is available.
Great. Thank you so much, Joana. And as we fly through our findings here, I want to shift a little bit towards the access need for finding and hearing. So Meryl Evans, I want to talk with you for a moment. When we were researching ways to help with voice communication, there were a number of interesting findings. And the first one that we'll cover is subtitles. So Meryl, can you talk to us about what are they and who benefits, along with some early examples of what you found in the research?
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. So yeah, I can cover that. And let's begin with some of the functionality we explored to help with voice communication, including having subtitles for real-time human speech and communication, such as avatar and immersive video conferencing, having subtitles for pre-recorded media, including speech. So who benefit? People who are deaf and hard of hearing, second language learners, people with temporary hearing loss, or when apps are used in a loud or quiet environment. People with ADHD, it helps them focus, and reading disabilities, and many who can't have the sound on. That shows that 80% use social media with the sound off. And it also helps with temporary, situational, and episodic impairment. That means anybody can become impaired at any time that affects the hearing. Now, some example findings from there include we found several products have captioned in multiple languages to help multilingual collaboration. A few products plan to implement caption in multiple languages for inclusion as well as multilingual collaboration. Many platforms support screen sharing. This makes it possible for people to share their software or app that contain caption or share media object like a video or a presentation that include caption or subtitle. But these are workarounds, and we want to avoid that kind of thing. But as we always say, progress over perfection, like my shirt says. And then many use an automated method that uses speech to text. And we know of one product that contains a running transcript of the spoken dialogue. As for the consideration, we need to consider evolving practices like those mentioned in the report from W3C Immersive Caption Group, of which I am a member. We will share the link with attendees. We need to ensure that people with disabilities don't pay extra for automatic caption. Researchers have experienced performance issues such as caption crashing when the virtual room will fall, or the shared caption will keep disappearing. It's also important to consider proper design and readability, as some captions are hard to see and almost disappear into the background. One product requires paying for caption, and that's for your own caption. People who need captions want to see other people's captions. Whenever setting up meeting, event, and training, captions need to be an option and turned on from the start. The design should also make it possible to incorporate human-generated captions. And transcript will never replace caption, but they should be available for meeting records, data mining, to-do identification, and accessibility. It's important to offer multiple ways of communicating beyond audio and video, such as with a chatbot. Back to you, Ashley.
Thank you so much for those observations, Meryl. I'd like to also ask you about another finding area related to sign language or video assistance. Would you be able to briefly share some of the examples of this in our research, please?
Some functionality we explored to help with sign language and video assistance included allow for display of sign language interpreter to translate spoken conversation into sign language, as you're seeing right now on this in the call. And the same video display can be used for remote assist. So who benefit? People who are deaf and who speak sign language. It's not just deaf people who know sign language. And anyone receiving video remote assistance, whether speaking in sign language or not. And then some functionality we explore that will help with standing out. Apologize. Many of the collaboration tools allow the placement of a video prism of the virtual meeting or collaboration space. This video could have a live sign language interpreter. The video could also be used in a remote assist scenario, where the user connects to a remote person who assisted them over video. Now, for consideration, we need to consider an option for a video assist or communication, as well as paying attention to the placement of the video based on the interaction. For example, you'd place the video differently for a small meeting, a large event, or a personal work activity with remote assist. Another thing to think about and ask is, how do you handle two-way communication in larger, smaller, or one-on-one settings? And finally, explore the interconnection with captions for fluid, multiplex communication consisting of voice, text, and sign language. Thank you. And now over to you, Maddy.
Thanks, Meryl. Thanks for going through all of those. Stewart, I'd love to talk to you now about another area that we looked at, which was around moving and manipulating. So some of the functionality that we explored in these platforms related to mobility and dexterity, and it included allowing the use of the tool from a seated, reclining, or stationary position, supporting the use of alternate controllers or separate controllers or sensors, allowing the remapping of controls on a standard controller or remap controls onto alternate controllers or keyboards. And the people who benefit from these kinds of functionalities are those who use a wheelchair or who have limited locomotion, people with limited dexterity, and also people using XR in stationary positions or who cannot use their hands due to the use case of what they're working on. So, Stewart, could you provide some of the findings that we found from these questions?
Yes, let me go off script just for a few minutes to let you guys know that, again, like I said earlier, I've been in a wheelchair since I was 14 years old. I've been now 40 years. The technology at that time was a mouse stick, and it's something you put in your mouth and you navigated through whatever keyboard you need to have to do. Right now, we're in the 21st century. And we're using technology that I have never seen before. It is fantastic. I think we need to take advantage of this opportunity that we have now. With that being said, the stuff that's out there now is fantastic. It just has to be implemented. I don't have use of my hands. So if I get some type of VR device or something like that, the interaction with it is the first problem. Whether it be eye gaze, that type of technology will adapt to me. Something as simple, because I don't have digits, use of the digits of my fingers, something with the wrist controllers, that would be beneficial, because then it sends you into a sense of independence where you don't have to ask anybody to do things for you. So, like I said, with that being said, the technology versus 40 years ago to what we have now, I think that we need to take advantage of this right now, because we're at a pivotal point where you're designing things not just for me, but for people who may be in a wheelchair. For that matter, I believe in quality of life. So I think that once you steer down that quality of life and make things more accessible for everyone, and not just make it a buzzword that we just default to and say we're making it accessible, and then we come back to something else. Take advantage of this right now. Take advantage of this right now. When you're sitting in front of your desktops and you're designing stuff, please take into consideration this is not for just you. It's for many, many folks, and they will benefit greatly. Maddy, I hope I didn't go too far off script with it. Put me on track if you do need to.
Not at all. No, I think that was great. Thank you so much, Stuart. And I think the call to action is very appropriate. And, we've spoken a lot in interviews about this. So I think everything you're saying is extremely relevant. So thank you very much. Ashley, you will be speaking about thinking and cognitive functionalities and access.
Yes, thank you, Maddy. And I wish we had more time to cover so much of this. There's just so much content. So I want to remind the audience that if you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the XR Access Symposium Slack instance. Or if you'd like to reach out to us, please feel free to do so. But for the findings section of the thinking and cognitive access needs, we looked at opting for subtitling, looking at voice commands, and the option for removing or reducing background details and audio from virtual environments. So really around this section, we looked at the learning functionality and adapting content. And what are they and how do they benefit? Some functionality we explored related to thinking or cognitive included adapting content output methods, including both visual and audio. For example, turning off background audio or experimenting with the user interface and controls before tests or full use. And then highlighting practical and important information inside of training or onboarding videos and offering plain language scaffolding. And who benefits from this? People with developmental disabilities, people who are neurodivergent, and everyone learning a new system. And some early examples of this is one platform in particular, AltSpace VR, offers interactive tutorials that encourage users to experiment before entering new worlds. And a few other platforms have two-dimensional or plain language tutorials, except Glue and Moonbeam didn't have tutorials, but one platform, Transfer, was accessible to people with disabilities with cognitive access needs. And this product developer, who Mark Steelman, one of our panelists as well, is working with state and local governments, workforce development agencies, and local community colleges to help train neurodivergent adults for jobs. And the adults are assisted by a virtual guide throughout the trainings and instructions that are automatically repeated if users are not making progress. Trainings are broken up into tutorial and hands-on practice sections to reinforce learning, and users are encouraged to repeat trainings until achieving mastery, which would be a gold medal, right? And what's not being supported beyond rigging and hacking is a lot of additional functionality that will continue to be scaffolded and explored here as XR deploys at scale. So through these access needs, I encourage you as a developer, as a business leader, as a designer, to take these into consideration and include diverse perspectives in all phases of the product development or software development lifecycle. And as we wrap up today, I want to pass it back to Maddy to take us home here, land the plane, and let the audience know where they can ask questions and more about when the findings will be published. Maddy, back to you.
Thank you so much, Ashley. So in the beginning of the talk, we spoke about the immense potential of these technologies and the potential they can have for businesses and people with disabilities. So just quoting, for example, someone from my interviews who said, technology gives me freedom. It enables me to do so many things I would not have been able to do otherwise. However, I also wanted to highlight that as a community here at the symposium, we need to act fast, as Stuart said as well, if we are going to take advantage of this opportunity that XR brings to businesses. And in order to act, XR Access needs funding. If you are someone building a collaboration software, consider becoming a member or co-creating and sponsoring one of these work streams to create something. If you like what you heard today and think that this could be valuable for your business, join us, join XR Access. we have many projects that extend beyond research that need funding. For example, building component libraries that help make these platforms accessible, like the plugins that already exist in Unity Store to make games more accessible. But we need these for VR and for XR collaboration tools. So on that note, I wanted to thank all our wonderful panelists and the rest of the research team who helped us with this research, who are Christina Palmer, Nirav Desai, and Ren Tyler. So now I'm handing over to Jessie, who is going to moderate our Q&A.
Actually, Maddy, we are out of time today. Thank you so much for everyone participating in this fabulous panel. If you're interested in reaching out, please put your questions in the Slack Q&A, and we will see you for the deep dives. Thank you, everyone.